Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mortgage Leadership Outlook. Thank you so much for joining us for this special edition. This is what I was really excited about when we came up with this idea of doing one actually that was not just going to be one person where we focus on, but take two of the best minds in marketing in the mortgage business. And we have with us today, we've got Paul Lucido, who is the Chief Marketing Officer over at PRMG, and Shakria Hall, who is the brand manager, right?
Yes, brand manager
for Calyx software, company that we've all loved for so many years. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and thank you for participating in this and writing for the magazine. So the genesis of this, we both Paul and Shakria wrote an article for National Mortgage Professional magazine. It appeared earlier this year. As a matter of fact, I'm going to share the links here. I'll share if you see actually Paul's link is right up there. You can catch his episode there, or his article there, and Shakria Hall, I will show her article there, and I'll keep showing them actually throughout the show here. But please, we want you to ask questions. I have some questions that I've lined up, from reading your articles, where I just want you guys to do a little deeper dive, and that's really about it. But listen, I mean, before we really get started, if you guys want to just give like a quick introduction, a little 30-second introduction about who you are and how you got here. Paul, you kick it off for us.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for having me, and I really appreciate meeting Shakria today. Her and I are officially connected now on LinkedIn, so that's awesome. I've been in the mortgage business for just a little north of 22 years. I currently work for Paramount Residential Mortgage Group, otherwise known as PRMG. And I'm actually just a little north of 10 years now with the company. I can't believe it went that fast. I truly cut my teeth early on when I was working for First Magnus Financial Corporation back in the day. But I've always remained in the arena of marketing and advertising and brand management. And it's just kind of led me to where I am today. So it's been quite an interesting journey.
Yeah. Shakria, how about you? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Of course. So I started as a real estate broker, actually. So I started as a real estate broker right around the crash, coincidentally, because I had a lot of friends. I was actually working in banking back then, and I had a lot of friends who were in real estate, who were appraisers and brokers. So I got into it around then. And that's initially where I got my experience, or my feet wet in the marketing space, as I was marketing my brokerage, because it was my business. I opened that business, so I was marketing it, and that's hosting community events and things like that. Then from there, was a loan officer, and so I got a little bit more on the opposite end of the real estate side as a loan officer working for Citi, and then got into marketing for real estate brokers. So I started working for a media company as a marketing consultant. So I got on the other side of it, just creating marketing and advertising campaigns for real estate companies, and worked with a lot of big names on that side of it. And now I'm here working on the brand management side for Calyx, and on the other side of it for the origination technology side. So it's just interesting how things come full circle, and how I've just been in the business since almost 15 years now. Yeah, so it's been quite a ride. So I'm really excited to work on this side of it. It's been a lot of fun.
That's great. Yeah, I think I well-rounded, from all these experiences, from being on the mortgage side, being on the real estate side, and now being actually, part of the Calyx team. It's a great actually, crescendo to being actually at Calyx. And Paul, I love your career. It's been actually great actually to see actually, you've the things that you did at First Magnus, the things that you've done at PRMG. Where you capture the spirit of the company. I mean, really, it's the spirit, I should say, the corporate culture. Like, it's shared through your marketing, and I just love so much about it. But so, without further ado, we're gonna get right into this. So, Shakria, you wrote the article. Don't pause, pivot. Leveraging technology to stay connected in a touchless world. By Shakria Hall, as a matter of fact, and I'm going to drop this actually in the note in the comment section. So if anyone's watching, you'll be able to follow along. But I have some questions that I'm going to ask you here, and we're going to start off with talk to us about first off evaluating your core systems. So I want to talk a little bit about evaluating your core systems, please.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, we recently spoke about this in a webinar that we hosted with you, and that was a great opportunity to speak to our customers and prospects. But there is so much change in the market. And in the beginning of the article, I was talking about some of the anxiety and the reluctance that everyone was feeling initially, kind of with comparing what's happening to the 08 crash, because we didn't have anything to compare this to. So initially it was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And then after a while, we started to see we started to see, hey, we have business. Business hasn't come to a complete halt, and so we started to evaluate, not evaluate, but we started to see that we were busy with refinances, people taking advantage of, the historically low rates, right? So we were working 12, 14-hour days. And as you mentioned earlier, before we actually started, Andrew, is that you're combining all of these working spaces. Your home is now your office, and now your restaurant, and now the laundry room, and all of these spaces. So what do we see? We see an influx of home equity lines of credit, and we saw lenders making all these changes to lending guidelines, and some were even daily changes, and it was hard to keep up. So right now, evaluating your core systems means making sure that you have the ability to offer a contact-free origination experience, making sure that your system has remote access, and has a centralized data system, allows you to stay in consistent contact with your multiple departments, to make sure you have the rules in place, to make sure you have, compliance is baked into the process, so and also we can't forget the important pieces of the contact-free origination experience, like incorporating a point of sale, like being able to get all of the important documentation up front, having e-sign. So, all of those things, making sure that, of course, it's affordable. So, and that's some of the things that I touched on in the article. Is right now we need to make sure that you are equipped to handle what is going on right now. Can your technology rise to the occasion? And if not, here are some things that can help you get up to par.
Fantastic. That was great. It's a good piece. Great advice. And I got to say this. I mean, what I taught, and today I had two conversations with companies about how they took the just unbelievable tsunami of business that started coming towards them, and it was technology, and technology did so much for them. Like I talked to one company that said they made almost no new hires. All of actually, they did some offshore work, but for the most part, it was all done with technology, optimizing their current staff, and they were able to get through this business. So, this is at the beginning of the Mortgage Leadership Outlook. I had a friend of mine on that he said this, and it stuck in my head. He said, you can't solve problems with people. You got to solve them with technology. You can't just throw people at the problem. You have to use technology to address the issue. So, this is the time actually to evaluate those core systems. I'm sure actually a lot of people have, especially I know you guys have just launched the Zenly product, so it's a great time to start looking at that. As we're also finding a lot of new brokers coming to the marketplace, and
right.
It's a great option for that. So speaking of pivoting, we're going to pivot over to you, Paul. So here we are actually, stuck at home. And a lot of actually the originators out there, they're, while they have their opportunity to call their own prospects and to call like the people that they've done business with. But I want to talk about, in your article, you talked about how to mine for new customers. Let's talk a little bit about that, because it seems a very difficult thing to do, actually, in these crazy times.
Yeah, well, mining for new mining for new customers is very tricky, because most of us have an existing database that we normally will fall back to. Now, you have to remember too that there's a lot of business there that you probably haven't reached out to in a long time. So it's also trying to reactivate a large portion of what might be sitting dormant right now. And right now, one of the biggest ways to do that is really through leveraging some of the social media, like many of us are doing. Let's be honest, right now, LinkedIn has really grown to be very formidable. I make a lot of connections on LinkedIn. I mean, I go out there, put some content out there, and right away, people will either respond back to me, they'll want to connect, I'll want to connect with them, and you start to sort of build your database there. But I think the main thing is to go back and start to revisit a lot of your past customers that you might have just shelved for a while because you've moved on to someone new, and go back and start getting involved. You need a good CRM to do that. So you got a prospect. I think I had talked a little bit about, and I may actually have my notes here just to be safe, but some of the things that you might want to consider doing, when you're going out there, is you got to, number one, kind of identify who your audience is. Who exactly you're trying to reach out to. In the case of what we do from a marketing perspective, national marketing perspective, a lot of what we do is to stay, as you know, Andrew, in touch with our customers. So it's always trying to stay on the forefront of their mind, always trying to reach out with good information, with good content. And right now, I think, to speak to your point, what a lot of people need to do is they need to leverage their own tech that they got right from their own home and start to just basically begin to prospect outwardly. Now, where do you get those prospects? Well, you can buy leads, you can do things like that. But a lot of it is just going organically, starting to connect with people out there in the business arena. Facebook is another good place that you could go to start to develop certain contacts. If you're a loan officer per se, you want to go back and revisit your database of realtors and start connecting with them and let them know that you're relevant. Put out good content that's going to get these people to respond to you, to begin to engage. Don't always try to sell anything. Just be relevant in their mind, so when they're ready to do something, you're like one of the first people that they think of. But it's a culmination of things, As I said here, you got to know your audience. Content is king. You've heard Ginger Bell talk about that. What is her message? Always pass on what you've learned and be the marketer of your expertise. So kind of know how to stay in your lane a little bit and leverage that. So that's kind of what I think of when I think about, how do you go out there and find new people? Many of us right now, and I'm sure Shakria would agree, we're not out there talking to people. Most of us have been quarantined. I know things have lifted. I'm going to work, working remotely like I'm doing today. But the idea is you need to revisit your database. You need to reactivate that database. You need to go back and look who's ripe for a potential refi, which is pretty much everybody now. I mean, Shakria brought up a point. I don't want to drift off subject, but you brought up a point, and that is that, business has been good. Well, there's an old saying, when the tide rises, many boats rise with the tide, right? And I can tell you right now, for our company, we're slaying it right now, just as a result of what's happening out there. We've had literally one record-breaking month after the other, yeah. April being a big one, which was amazing. And for our company, it was a big deal. I get it. We rub elbows with some pretty heavy hitters out there that might look at that as chump change. But the reality of it is we're growing organically. And while we're in this state of flux and while we're in this growth, you need to keep the irons hot. You need to keep reaching out. You need to stay active on Facebook. You need to stay active on LinkedIn. You need to engage. As I always say, high fives and likes are all fine and good, but we want to create that engagement. And, we have key people on our team that are doing just that. So start there. Start with the circle that you already know, and one leads to the next, leads to the next.
So I'm going to ask you guys both this, and Shakria, if you don't mind, kind of touching on this first. Is there any like kind of killer content or things actually that you can think of that originators can put out there on Facebook? Let's just focusing on Facebook because, listen, Facebook is where you're going actually when you're talking about buying a home and you're looking at homes, but this is where, you're not in business mode. You're in relaxed, chilling out mode. So Facebook is where people actually are going to be a little more relaxed and a little more susceptible to potentially your ideas that you're going to be presenting with them. So any, ideas for content or things that you can create, it's not going to be too much of a hard sell for Facebook.
Absolutely. What seems to resonate right now is sharing your story, like sharing your wins, because some people are shocked that business is booming. If you're not in the industry, people are under the impression that sales have completely stopped and that it's not a good time to buy. And right now is a really great time to share your wins and to make sure that your borrowers are reviewing you, leaving you amazing reviews about like just sharing your story. Right now, you're sharing your expertise and you're sharing your wins. And your best advocates right now are going to be your most recent borrowers, so just kind of tell that experience, because one of the things that we're seeing is extended closing times. So I have seen that where it's taking a little bit longer to close a loan because of unexpected hiccups related to COVID, like issues with appraisals and things like that. So I would also, that's a separate conversation when it comes to just setting the proper expectations with your new borrowers to make sure that you have, you're letting them know, hey, this might happen. And this is the average closing time, because once you get the borrower, you want them to, of course, send you leads and you want to get repeat business. So making sure that once you get them and you're setting those proper expectations, you've wowed them up front and gotten that business. Okay, now, it's all about creating a valuable experience. So it's two-part. That's how you get them in, but you also have to keep them coming back.
So now, do you think actually that's something you should post on Facebook? Like, let's say, hey, listen, we're so busy that it's taking a little longer. I mean, is that something to be transparent like that? I mean, is that something? Do you think that hurts or helps you to share that, because it shows that there's demand? It shows actually that, hey, there's a lot of people that want to do this. But does it? Is the pros outweigh the cons on that?
I wouldn't share that up front. Personally, I wouldn't. I wouldn't share up front. I would share that as as like when you call me and we're, going through the process.
Yeah.
Right. But I wouldn't share that up. I would just share the wins and let them know that business is booming. But, I'm not too big on sharing some of those negatives up front.
Well, once the ink hits the 10:03, that's where we start to bring that up. So cool. Shakria, I'm going to go back to you on this because, and obviously, Paul, you got to add something about this because I think you know a little bit about this subject, using video. So in your article, let's bring your article back up again. You talked about using video. So talk a little bit about, about how to use video, some best practices, what could we do? Love to hear that.
Oh, are you talking to me or Paul?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, because we both talked about it in our article.
Yeah, so I want to hear about your first, and we'll get Paul's input of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I haven't seen that many brokers incorporating video into their marketing strategies, and it's so effective. Especially right now where it's a low touch environment. Some of us have been quarantined. They really need that personal touch. And so it's important if you are either establishing or deepening your relationships, they want to build trust and see your body language. They want to know how you say things. You're expressing your expertise in a way that can come across better on screen, right? And so, I'm I'm all about video, and I have seen some people incorporate different video technology, like, you know, BombBomb and things like that, which is great. But I really recommend that everybody just take a look and see what's out there to incorporate with the technology that's going to work for them the most. And, you know, just keep in mind your goal when you go into this process. So I'm so glad to hear Paul mention, he mentioned finding out who your target audience is, because so often I hear brokers say that my target audience is whoever wants to buy a home. And so, you know,
yes.
right.
But you got to, you know, so yes, you'll take anyone, but you need to focus actually, you know, your funnel in a certain direction.
Exactly, because the more you know about your target market, the better you'll be able to create content that will attract them, and the better your content will be able to resonate with them, your messaging, you know. And there are certain dynamics that are established and fine-tuned with a certain segment of people, right? Once you have that target market, you start to know what they like, and even in terms of their level of service. So, I mean, evaluating, you know, their stage of life is going to be important. What stage of life are they in? You know, on average, how much money do they make? Are they coming from a specific area in the country, you know, or the specific area in your city, you know? So fine tuning that information. And then that's when you start to create some of your content by evaluating your desired outcome. So are you educating them? Is your content educating them? Are you creating a series of videos or just one? You know, is this like an introduction video? Like, is it branding? You know, are you branding you and your company? What are you trying to accomplish? And from then you can, from there, you set your kind of like your content, right? So not necessarily a script, but it gives you an outline of what you want to convey, and making sure that it's not too long.
Don't use the script.
Right? Yeah, making sure that it's not too, right. No, but it's a guideline, right? So you want to make sure that it's not too long, because our attention spans are really short these days. On average, it was a Microsoft study that said our attention spans are about 8 seconds. So you can't have your video be 10 minutes. Right. So up front, you need to get that attention up front and make your intent known. So it's intentional content that's short, succinct, and that's directed to your audience is the best and, you know, tips I can give you right now.
Yeah, that's great. Paul, listen, you wrote an entire article, actually, oh my goodness, not radio killed the video.
Living on video.
Living on video, yeah. So talk a little about actually, you know, video. We don't. Oh, that's right. That's right. With yeah. And not only actually did actually write an article about it, he did an entire panel in Las Vegas. You know, on this, where I was honored to be on stage with you, KP, who, I mean, it is amazing how awesome he is. Actually, had just like a natural at video with great actually content, with great energy. I mean, Josh Bitts, I mean, the you know, the king of live. I mean, he's actually the guy that actually got me out of my shell to actually go live. I was nervous about going live. He helped me do that. And Jason Frazier, I mean, you know, there's no one that gets anyone to live video better than Jason Frazier. So
where is the video? I need to see this now. Where I need to see this event.
We have it, right? We recorded it, right? We'll have to.
Yes, I need to see that.
Yeah. So, oh, we got a little comment from Max. Max, what's going on? Max Master. Shakria and Paul are so spot on regarding understanding your customer. Such a huge differentiator in potential earning business. Thank you, Max. Totally agree. Yeah. So okay. So Paul, talk to us a little bit about, you know, video. You know, love to hear it.
Well, I mean, look, I think Shakria said a lot there. There was a lot to unpack in terms of where her mindset was at. We've already kind of understand the idea that you got to know your audience. I think with the videos, and I think we're all demonstrating that through our actions every day. You know, when I picked on the idea of living on video, it's not necessarily that it's anything new, but more and more people are beginning to be comfortable with, as you and I say, with being uncomfortable on camera. And to me, it is about content. Content is king. The question is, what type of content do you share? I say that you find a lane that you're good at, something that you're passionate about. Share that information. Obviously, in our industry, people are going to want tips. I can share certain marketing tips. Others can share certain tips as it relates to boots on the ground, things that you would like to include in your video. Sometimes are testimonials. We use social survey, for example, that we leverage, and we're also now getting our feet wet with BombBomb. In fact, I'll be on a call at 3 o'clock this afternoon with regard to BombBomb. But going back to the point of video, the idea is it allows you to connect with people. They can read who you are, be yourself, and more importantly, you need to leverage your soft skills, and that's what we're really talking about here. This is where the emotional quotient outweighs the IQ. Literally, there are a lot of smart people out there, but can you get across to people? Can you resonate with them? Are you empathetic? Do you understand where they're coming from? Have you walked in their moccasins? Do you have something in common that you share? So an example of this, which would be completely, let's say, unrelated to the mortgage industry, is, Andrew and I will do our book reviews of 30 Days of Thought, which speak to culture. Well, culture obviously transcends into companies, right? So we talk about, how you could navigate culture, which is a very deep subject. It's very philosophical. I, on the other hand, might do independent book reviews from time to time. I'll read different books, different things, including Ginger Bell, Christine Beckwith, and a few others that might be related to the mortgage industry, and share those outwardly, not trying to sell anything, just trying to deliver good content in my own words, after I've sort of taken it all in and say, okay, I've given this some thought. There's some interesting facts and ideas that you might want to consider. And the idea is you begin to build an audience that way by putting out good content. So right now it is a content-rich environment. And I'll give you one more too. And now I can go way off path here, but conversations are what it's all about. It's literally what we three are doing here today. People want to have discussions. We need to create the communication, especially because of the way times are right now, what we've been involved in. It's been very tumultuous out there. Many things have been playing into media right now. And the idea is people are seeking sound advice, or looking for the voice of reason. They want to find out if other people feel the way they feel. So you don't necessarily always have to talk about loans, loan programs. The fact that we know that they're doing away with DTI. I heard something that has been announced out there, and I don't want to go there because that's not my lane, but I'm aware of it. And there are people that are going to gravitate to that and want to know about it. But there are other people that are just looking to see the other side. So, for example, when you're doing video, let's say on Facebook, you might just want to share a little bit about who you are, maybe a little bit about your family, maybe a little bit about your everyday life, and people connect with that. This is all about connecting at the end of the day. And the question is, are you connected with other people? Do you resonate with other people? Once you begin to do that, and now you want to talk about other things, people are going to be a little more apt to want to listen to what you have to say. But you have to sort of start those conversations initially. And I think that, to me, is what's key. And I go back to the same thing. Right now, I think everyone is living on video, and I'll agree with Shakria on this. You want to keep that video between 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Keep that video about 3, because you lose your audience.
Are these videos okay? Where I'm doing it with my phone. I don't have a professional studio, but let's say I have a good message. Maybe I'm at a restaurant, and I really love this restaurant, and I want my community to know about this restaurant, and so I want to do maybe a little review of this restaurant, or maybe I'm at a drive-in movie theater, and I want my community to know about it. And I just do one of these. Is this okay? Is this ever okay? Do you feel and I'm Shakria, I want to hear from you first. About actually just casually taking out your phone and recording a video like this. And ideally, you should know what you're going to be saying. You shouldn't just freestyle it. You should have an idea of what your message is going to be. Maybe get the restaurant owner involved or something like that. What are your feelings about handheld videographers?
I think it depends. I think it depends on a few things. One being the background noise, the other being lighting, the other being if you're really clear and confident in exactly what you're about to say. Are you live? Are you able to do double takes if you mess up? Are you moving around, because that's distracting if you're moving around while you're taking a video while it's in your hand. So it's a few different considerations that I would have. If some of those are yes, like yes is good lighting, you're stable, yes, you know exactly what you're going to say. It really just depends on the nature, but sometimes yes and sometimes no. Paul, what do you think?
Well, you bring up an interesting point. I want to touch on a couple of things because there's a mixed bag out here of what people think. For me, because of what I've done most of my career, obviously gravitating to polished videos, bookending them with the start and finish with the music, intro. A lot of podcasts do that. I think, as you said, there's a place for that where you need that to create a consistent theme, to be more thematic, and to be able to have, especially if you're going to dig into some, in-depth information, or you're going to have a conference like we're doing here. But I will tell you that a lot of the raw, uncut, on the spot cell phone videos pull just as strong as a polished video. I can tell you that's true.
You know someone who's done that.
Well, we know, and he knows who he is too. And I promote that. Then I take it, I wrap it in a frame, and we promote it out, and we blast it to all our brokers for them to see, which now puts it more in a formalized environment with some content. But let's get back to the point. I did a restaurant interview. I don't know if you were hinting my way on that, but I had interviewed somebody right out of Corona during the COVID situation who was really concerned about his business. Now, I've been a regular customer for over 6 years, and I went in, and the day I went in, they were all closed up, and I was like, what's happening? And I just literally interviewed him on the spot. Now, I didn't post it live, but what I did is I did the interview unannounced. He went for it, and then I put it together and I put it out there. And I got to tell you, I got a lot of people engaged it because it was very raw, very real. They felt the emotion of the restaurant owner who was feeling very unsettled that he might lose his business.
Oh, God.
I'm going to tell you, those are the kinds of things that people are interested in learning about. There's an old saying, and I hate to say this, it sounds so horrible. It's just more tongue-in-cheek, misery loves company, right? But the truth is some people are looking to commiserate, to understand, are other people going through what I'm going through?
Yes.
Are they?
Relatability.
Am I the only one, or is it all peaches and creams out there? Are we just going to fill people with a bunch of platitudes and, all these lofty statements saying you could do it, keep grinding, don't stop. There is a place for that. But there's another crowd that's going, you know what? That's hard for me to buy. I want to know if somebody's really going through something, that they can talk to me like a human being and connect with me. Human being, not human being. And to me, I think that's the kind of thing, that's where we're living right now. We're living in a state of uncertainty. Those are the times we're in right now. Now's the time to reach out to people. Now's the time to talk about a variety of things, form those connections, show them that you're a real person, that you're not on some ivory tower. We all hold position, and that's great. But you also need to come off your step ladder once in a while and just be a human and just connect with people. So going back to the cell phone video, I think there's definitely a place for that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. What was really interesting that about that story is that it was in the moment, it was raw, but it wasn't live. And what you were able to do is go back and capture it and package it in a way that was most fitting for the audience. So I think that's a really good point. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's definitely room to tailor things. Kevin Peranio always says that, that's what's beautiful. You could retake it you can make edits quickly, and most of our phones have the software to do it. But if you really want to grab somebody, you do what Andrew does once in a while and goes live on Facebook, and once you're live, baby. That's the end of it.
It is.
Yeah.
Andrew, you know how many times I've asked Andrew, hey, so what are we going to discuss? He said, oh, we're just going to wing it.
He told you this, he told you that? That's what he told me too.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I mean, I winged it because you guys wrote the script of what it needed to cover. So, so which is perfect, actually, segue to my next thing I wanted to talk about. What is emotional quotient? Quotient, am I saying that right?
Yes.
So, Paul, tell us what is emotional quotient?
Okay, so this is something that I read about a long time ago, back in the 90s, early 90s. I think it's a Daniel Goleman is his name, that I wrote the book read the book EQ versus IQ. And it's interesting how more and more people talk about it now. I guess if you live long enough, you see everything. And the bottom line is the emotional quotient is really the ability to really delve into your soft skills, be able to be a good speaker. I'll go back to the same thing. Be empathetic to other people, be able to connect and have discussion, and in some cases even be able to have discourse. Yeah. We don't always have to agree with one another, but the emotional quotient is one of those things that's very difficult to measure. A lot of times we put a high label on people when they have a high level IQ as a Mensa. You're really up there. You've got this high level of an IQ, but then there are a lot of people with IQs like that socially inept. They don't have the ability to really communicate with people. I think you have to have a little bit of both. So you want to have some good hard skills, as we call them, where you're good at certain things like math and language and all these different things. But you also want to be able to, what did I write here? I'm cheating here, but it's having a more important aspect of marketing, because others won't be able to rely on Mr. Personality to take the stage when they hide behind the curtain, right? I mean, at the end of the day, having good soft skills, which I would say everybody on this call has really good soft skills. That's why probably, I mean, you do, Andrew, you always play it down, but you have great soft skills. I think it is almost more important.
I get soft skills. I get hard skills. Yeah.
Yeah. Paul, I read the article, right? And I thought it was a great article. One of the things that stood out of a phrase, like a quotable from the article, is what you just said, but I want to finish that quote because you said that people can't hide. So you said some people have great, communication skills and others don't. And people, those others can no longer hide behind their personalities. And let me read what you said. You said, they won't be able to rely on Mr. Personality to take the stage while they hide behind the curtain, because the stage is now the screen and everyone is behind it. That was so impactful for me, because we're constantly sharing on social media. We're on our phones. We have Zoom meetings. We have things like this, and you can't. I mean, your personality is at the forefront of yes, your personality, but your ability to relate, that emotional intelligence, is everywhere. It's at the forefront. So I think, as you said, it's marrying them both. You can't have one without the other because people feel it. So that resonated. So I just wanted to share that. I really like that.
Well, I really appreciate that. I guess what I was going to comment on is you have to know your stuff too. And if you're going to share content, especially if it's content that the general public is aware of, but now you've done your homework, you do need to make sure before you put content out there that you have a general sense of what you're talking about, and not so much say this is how it is, but I'm of this opinion. Yes. And based on what I've read, because as you and I both know, as we all know, there are many different opinions out there.
Absolutely.
Another thing I would like to kind of go delve into, and I don't know if Andrew, you were going to bring this up, but our leadership needs to step out more too. Now, I will tell you, speaking for our company at Paramount Residential Mortgage Group, we do have leadership that is coming to the forefront, but more and more leaders need to be involved. That's the culture now. You'll hear Jay Duran talk about it. In fact, Jay Duran's book, 30 Days of Thought, I'll give him a little plug here, is a great book to help you develop those soft skills because it forces you to contemplate. It forces you to think more expansively. And I think that's what's missing, Shakria. That's what's missing is people, the pool is actually very shallow. Yeah. Everybody is too cool for school. They don't want to spend the time to delve into anything. They want to go this way. They want to go longitudinal. They want to go, or, latitudinal, across. And, but nobody wants to dive in a little bit. So these fireside chats, the conferences and discussions like we're having today, I find to be very interesting because one subject leads to the next and it starts to bring things out. And I think that's what we need to do. So discussions are really important. Be yourself and make sure you know a little bit about what you're talking about. And if you don't, be forthcoming that you don't,
Agreed.
Which and you wrapped up your article talking about personalized and personalized and humanistic. So tell us a little bit about that because it's perfect segue. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that people were anxious to reach out. That's why the title of my article is "Don't Pause, Pivot." So people really were across the industry. I mean, brokers and loan officers, even marketers. We were so anxious about what was going on because it was unprecedented. We didn't really know what to say because, to be honest, we're in a very it's a weird time and it's sad for a lot of people. I don't want to ignore the fact that we have millions of people who've lost their jobs. We've had either firsthand experience or secondhand experience with someone who has been sick. So this is really weird. It's I shouldn't say weird. It is it's complex. So it's hard to navigate, especially if you're not accustomed to navigating in a crisis. But you're not accustomed to communicating in a crisis. And so that aspect of the article, I was talking about just making sure that reaching out is important and developing that connection. Sometimes what our customers are going to remember is how you responded during this crisis. If they have not heard from you, if you've just, you've taken this as a time to kind of like hide away, and they're going to know that you're not there. Where were you? Even if it's just a, hey, how are you? We're thinking of you. We know that you're going through a hard time. That personalizes and humanizes the experience, and they will remember that. Even if it's not just a hard, it should never be a hard sell. But if it's not something that's sales focused, it really should be, hey, just to check in, like I mentioned. But also, the messaging right now, people are looking for feelings of hope and security. So making sure that you're not using scare tactics to communicate with your customers is really important. So making sure that we're careful in our word choices so that it communicates a sense of stability and security and safety, So an element that kind of ties to what I said earlier about communicating that, hey, we're still selling, we still have we're still closing. And these are my happy customers, and we're still fulfilling the American dream, and these are these people who I've been helping. So it's all about establishing that, and on one end, that humanistic approach. We get, hi, I'm just trying to see, how are you? How are you doing? How is your family? And the other side is business is continuing. So we still have business that's going on. So for the people who are ready, willing, and able to buy, I am the person that you can talk to about moving that dream forward. Perfect. So I think it's a balancing act that we have to do right now.
I think that was right, spot on.
Thank you.
And could not agree with you more. It's interesting. You have to be a little multifaceted here. You have to be able to hit on all those prongs, as you just said.
Yeah.
And I will say this. You made me, as you were saying that, it made me think of the fact that the environment we're in right now, we're all doing this remotely. initially it was a little scary for a lot of companies, because of accountability. Are people really going to work as hard? Are they going to stay in touch? We're all Zooming it right now. Everybody's Zoom. That's what's going down right now. We're all having one conference after the other. But what's been the learning curve out of this is, oh my goodness, we can actually do this. We can stay profitable. People are, companies are always looking for return on investment. Well, right now, there's a lot of intellectual capital going into this at this point in time, and this will pay dividends over time. The ROI they're looking for, it's actually beginning to happen, because the more and more we put ourselves out there, the more and more we stay in contact with one another, and be able to demonstrate that we could be just as efficient doing it this way as we can in the office. They start to rethink their game plan, because they start to think, well, do we need all these branches? Do we need all these fulfillment centers? Do we need to pay for all this overhead?
No.
I'm telling you, it's being evaluated right now. They're scratching their heads thinking, wow, maybe it can really work. People really will work hard. Yeah. Which brings me to this. Andrew, you brought up a very interesting point, which I'm hoping you're going to touch on, that you spoke to me about yesterday.
Okay. What about, is this a short-lived thing? Is this, I keep talking to people saying, it's funny, because I had people that were telling me, saying, yes, we're going to get back in the office as soon as we can. This is not that we need, we're a belly to belly organization. We need to be actually, so when I hear someone else talking about this and I can help them with that, and they hear me talking about this, and I was actually just talking today with someone, and she said actually how training new people, one of the great things you could do is, but they shadow you and they hear what's going on, without actually, specifically having a program. And so you lose that. And those people actually were very fearful of going into this new norm and working from home. And they couldn't wait to get back into the office. Those same people are now saying, something, I don't know that we're going to actually go back to the office in the great numbers that we can. So some people need to. Some people actually feel that they have to be in an office. They want to be in an office. There's a lot of people that feel actually that they can work from home. However, as the pause starts to lift and people actually start to say, all right, something, hon, let's go out for lunch. The kids actually, they're getting a little recluse around today. Maybe we'll go to the park today. I'll stop working at 3:00 and I'll go to the park with the kids. As stuff starts to open, are we going to start to actually see the productivity erode? And that's something I don't know, but it's something I'm thinking about, and which basically to me I think it presents itself for maybe it's a hybrid work environment. 3 days in the office, 2 days at home, something actually to have some kind of a mix. But it's something, organizations need to be careful of, that productivity might be short-lived.
Well, if I may, and I'm sure we all have opinions about that. I go back to the same thing. I think it's a mixed bag, and I'll tell you why. Let's all remember, working remotely is not something new. One of the things that I talked about was, and I remember this distinctly when I was in the aerospace industry, looking to finally maybe get out of it and try something new. Home office computing was stepping into the arena. In fact, Inc. magazine was just getting its sea legs as well. Inc., which is now everybody knows about Inc., right? But I'm going back when nobody knew who they were. They were just a little magazine. And so was this company called Home Office Computing, which was glamorizing the idea of working from home. You could actually do this from your workspace. You've got your PC, you got your cup of coffee, you're all set up, your plant in the background, you're all dialed in, and you're going to work from home. And I remember sitting there daydreaming about the idea, how cool could this be? The downside of working sometimes from home or remotely is the lack of structure, the lack of being connected with other people. Yeah. And so, but with technology being the way it is today, we have the ability to do the Zoom meeting, the Zoom conferences. That's changed the landscape. In fact, I'll tell you right now, with my team at work, with my marketing team, so I have a national marketing team, right? We connect on Microsoft Teams. We leverage Microsoft Teams. In a moment's notice, I could have 6 people up on screen, and we're all communicating. We could share. We could do tutorials. So the truth of the matter is, we'll go back to something you said earlier about technology. We're really learning how to, all of us going to school on getting our sea legs on how to navigate this new environment. So the good news is, if we all go back to work, we will have at least learned something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like structure. So I don't know about Shakria. I don't want to speak for her. I do like going to the office. And I do like the structure, and I do like the interaction. So I don't want to say I don't. But I've also learned how to be pretty good at navigating this new space.
Absolutely. I mean, it's necessary. So you'll see that the organizations who are performing and thriving right now are those who have adopted or adapted to this new normal, right? And so right now we're seeing this accelerated speed of technology adoption just for that very reason. So it's necessary, but it's also, you have to stay agile. That's really the only way that we can be viable in any environment, actually.
Agreed.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. By the way, this is great. Some unbelievable information. Thank you guys so much for sharing. I really, really appreciate this. I just took 50 minutes out of your days. So I'm honored, actually, to have you guys, to have such great minds in marketing, from 2 unbelievable companies, and I just really want to thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you for
so much
having
fun.
Andrew. We appreciate it. Definitely.
Thank you.
All right, I'm just going to flash their articles one more time. Make sure you get it. It's also in the comments if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn. The comments where the articles are posted down there, so you can just click the link rather than typing it in there. And now I'm going to show Paul's article right there. So without further ado, we're going to wrap this up. Really excited. Next week, we've got Miss Unbelievable, dynamic personality, hero to the broker, Laura Brandeo from AFR. So excited to have her. So she's going to be on next Wednesday. I was just talking to her this morning. She's talking about actually, some of the things that she's doing to make sure that she's going to be at Originator Connect coming up in Vegas in August. It is happening. We're working with the casino to make sure everyone's going to be safe and feel good about being there. I know I'm going to feel good about being there. It's going to be good to get out there. I know a lot of things happen, a lot of events canceling, but I think actually, with a lot of moves to being putting in to take safety measures to put in place, we're going to be fine, and you're going to feel good and secure, and it's going to feel good to actually have an unbelievable speaker lineup. So go check it out, originatorconnect.com, for more of that. And guys, again, thank you, and please have an awesome day. Thank you for watching another Mortgage Leadership Outlook. We will be on next week on Wednesday, 4:00 East Coast time, 1:00 Pacific time. Have a great day, guys. Be safe.
Thank you, Andrew.